You might know Angular Material. It's a third-party package, actually also maintained by parts of the Angular team, but totally optional. It adds components, so pre-built components, to your Angular app, which follow the Material Design spec. And Material Design is a design language invented by Google. It looks the way this page looks like. Now you can check out components here and see which components this offers, and this is of course not the focus of this module here, but there you can get nice pre-built components which you can then easily drop into your application to use them there. Now if we click on Get Started, we see that we can run one simple command to add Angular Material to our project. Now let's copy this command and give it a try. Let's head over to our project, and there I will run ng-add @angular/material. And Angular Material is not the only package which supports the ng-add command. Every third-party package can support it, no matter if it's built by the Angular team or not. And there are a lot of third-party packages out there, for example Ionic, which do support it. Now to support it, these packages need to include certain configuration files in their package source code in the end, and ng-add will look for these files, and if it finds them, it is able to run. Now these files, which these packages have to include, then tell ng-add what to do. And let's see what ng-add does with Angular Material. Let's hit enter, and now you see as a first step, it installs packages through npm. Now this is not all it will do though, but it's one part of what it does. It will install all packages you need to install to use Angular Material. That's the Angular Material package itself, but also some third-party dependencies this package needs. Then some packages or some tools might prompt you for certain choices you have to make. Not all. Some have some default steps which they always execute. Here, for example, we can choose a default theme with which we want to start. And here I'll go for Deep Purple and Amber. We can here also choose if you want to use Hammer.js for gesture recognition, and I will choose yes. Also add browser animations with yes, so that we have all these nice animations, and hit enter. And now you see it again updates the package.json file because it now installs more dependencies. And that's the interesting part, it did not just install some packages, so it's not just a replacement for npm install, it also updated some other files. It updated the main.ts file, the app module, AngularJSON, the index.html file, and style.css. So why don't we have a look at all these files to understand what ng-add did? And let's start with main.ts. In main.ts, you see it added an import for Hammer.js, which is a third-party package that helps us with gesture detection. And that is it actually. In the index.html file, you see it included some Google fonts, the Material icons in the end, and the Roboto font which it uses. So that is an adjustment it made there. In the app module, if we have a look, there it actually added the browser animations module from Angular animations, because some Angular Material components use animations, and of course those animations should work. In the style CSS file, you see it set some default styles for your website, like a default font, for example. And in AngularJSON, there, let's see what it changed there. There you see that, for example, under the build command, it now also includes our theme styles, so that our theme is picked up when we build for production. So that's the ng-add schematic. Pretty useful for third-party packages that support it, because it does not just install dependencies in package.json, it also does this, but not just. Instead, besides doing that, it also makes a couple of adjustments specified by the third-party package that need to be made so that you can immediately start using this installed third-party package. Now, I did mention ng-generate and ng-update as well. What do these schematics do? Now, let's start with ng-generate. We know ng-generate, right? We can use it in any Angular project. That is because Angular and the Angular CLI has some default blueprints included. For example, for generating a component, for generating a pipe, a service, and so on. So these are basically schematics or support for the ng-generate schematic that is already built in. But you could add your own, and third-party packages can also add their own, not just for ng-add, but also for ng-generate. For example, with Angular Material installed here, we can run ng-generate at Angular/material, so basically the name of the schematic provider. By default, if you leave this empty, it's the default CLI, the default Angular setup, but you can override it and use a different one, in this case the Angular Material package, colon, then a name of a supported schematic, and there, for example, nav. And of course, in the official docs of Angular Material, in this case, you learn all about the ng-generate schematics it added and you can use. So here we can use nav, and then a name where we want to create our, in this case, navigation setup. And if I hit enter now, this uses this generate schematic provided by Angular Material, and it adds a new component. So under the hood, it probably uses ng-generate component, but it adds a new component which is not empty, but which has a different default blueprint. In this case, you see it has a blueprint where we have a side navigation controller, a toolbar, a button, and then also can show some content here, like maybe in a main block, simple H2 header, this works. And now let's include this main nav component here in app component. Let's use main nav like this. Make sure that in app module, this was added to declarations. And if we now run ng-serve, you will see a nice navigation which works out of the box using Angular Material components thanks to this custom schematic, this ng-generate schematic added by the Angular Material package. And you could build something like this on your own as well if you wanted to, but as I mentioned, a lot of third-party packages support it. So this adds on to the default schematics you already have in an Angular project. And of course, here I got an error because it's not main nav. Of course, it's app main nav, right? We can, of course, check the deselector here. So a little oversight from my side. Let me fix this in app component. And after fixing this, if we visit localhost 4200, we get this nice little application here where, of course, not much is happening, but where we now could build up on to build an application. So this is the ng-generate schematic and what you have built into the CLI and the default project, and how third-party packages as well as yourself could add new blueprints to it. Now, besides ng-generate, we also have ng-update. And ng-update is one of the coolest commands you can find. Of course, you want to keep your application up to date, and thankfully, when Angular releases a new version, typically not everything changes. So typically, updating is fairly trivial. Still, you might have to update a couple of dependencies in package.json, and maybe there are one or two smaller adjustments you need to make in code. Maybe very simple ones, but still repetitive ones, like adjusting a certain import, adding a new setting on a decorator, something like this. Now, ng-update can be executed like this in a project, and it will analyze it and tell you if there is something that needs to be updated. And for that, it basically checks every package which supports this schematic. Of course, all Angular packages support it. The Angular CLI itself supports it. And for example, some third-party packages, like Angular Material, also support it. Now you see here, everything is up to date for me. But if something would not be up to date, it would show you a table and tell you how you can update now. For example, then you can run commands like ng-update at Angular core, at Angular CLI to update the Angular framework packages. This will actually target all packages, not just the core package, and the Angular CLI package to bring it up to date and run any migrations, so any adjustments that might need to be made. So this command makes updating super simple. And again, if you run just ng-update, you will see a table of commands you should run in case your project is not entirely up to date. So ng-update is a command which is worth running after every new Angular version that was released to quickly bring your project up to date and ensure that it works with this latest version. Manually updating wouldn't be that hard, but of course with ng-update it gets even easier. And these are the three important schematics we have here. Now we also have something which is called builders. Now what's that?